Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right, so shout out to everyone who is in the building early. It is good to see each and every one of you. If you can hear me okay and everything looks and sounds good on the screen, please give me a thumbs up or a radiation emoji in the chat. If you cannot hear me or things look and sound bad, please give me a thumbs down or an angry face. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to shout out everybody who is in the building early, all right? Shout out to Carlton Way. What's good with it, bro? Shout out to Black Spider. What's good with you, Black Spider? Shout out to Lehman Lucas. Shout out to Volvo 2 Love. And shout out to everyone who has not commented yet. Welcome to the stream. All right. So we're going to be talking about some interesting things today. We got a lot to talk about. Hopefully we're able to cover it all. If not, we're going to try to wrap it up tomorrow. All right. Tren De Aragua has been popping back up all over the place, mainly in Colorado. And we got to talk about this birthright citizenship situation. That might actually take us a couple days. Okay, let me ask you guys this question. The Supreme Court recently made some rulings, made some decisions in regards to birthright citizenship. My question for everybody is, how do people feel about the decisions that were made? Let me know in the comment section, and we will definitely get to that and talk about that and discuss it. All right. The first thing that we're going to talk about is this weird situation right here. Shout out to my man Carlton Way, a quote unquote strange imposition. All right. There was a man who was suspected of posing as an immigration agent, and he was arrested with guns and a fake passport. So he was about to immigrate somewhere. Officers found Homeland Security themed documents, a gun, and police style lights in the man's car. So I don't know, maybe this guy was somebody who wanted to be an ICE agent or something like that, and he wasn't able to be an ICE agent. So he just said, look, I'm about to fake like I'm one. And look at his name. He was only 23. Amid heightened tensions in immigration communities stemming from ongoing enforcement raids, Huntington Park police said Friday they arrested a man who may have been posing as a federal immigration agent. So here's the guy's name. His name was Fernando Diaz, and he was young, 23 years old. Fernando Diaz was arrested Tuesday in the 7,000 block of Alameda Street after officers came across an SUV parked in a handicap zone. Police said during an afternoon news conference. Police Chief Cosme Lozano said officers began efforts to impound the Dodge Durango when a man approaching claimed to own the SUV. Having learned that the vehicle was being impounded, the individual requested to retrieve items from the vehicle that he claimed, quote unquote, belonged to a friend, Lozano said. When questioned by the officers about the police-like items in the vehicle, the individual claimed he, quote unquote, formerly worked as a security guard. Lozano said officers searched the vehicle and found, this is what they found, a loaded 9mm semi-automatic firearm, 2 holsters, and additional ammunition for the firearm, 3 cell phones, official-looking documents bearing the heading of Homeland Security Investigations and U.S. Customs and Border Protection, a sheet containing U.S. Customs and Border Protection radio codes, multiple copies of passports not registered under the individual's name, and other miscellaneous items indicative of, quote unquote, possible criminal activities. Okay. The Durango was equipped with radios and police type lights, authorities said. Diaz, who had an outstanding DUI warrant, allegedly claimed he was a CPB employee in 2022. He was arrested for possession of the allegedly unregistered firearm, but later released on $5,000 bail. So he had a warrant, right? They picked him up, and they released him on $5,000 bail. Shout out to Miss Niecy. You know, what's up with these people impersonating cops? The arrest came amid stepped-up immigration enforcement by operations across the Southland, generally being carried out by armed federal agents wearing face masks. All right. Now, let me ask you guys this question. Again, I got to compare this situation to C-19, right? How many people remember during the C-19 era when they were enforcing and they wanted everybody to wear masks? You guys remember that? Now they don't want the ICE agents to wear masks. He had civilian clothing and no badges or identification as law enforcement officers. They generally wear bulletproof vests that say police or ICE or the name of other agencies. Federal officials have insisted that the agents wear masks to protect themselves and their families from attacks by protesters objecting the enforcement operations. But critics have assailed the practice, saying it invites criminal activity by law enforcement imposters. Now, again, I want to ask you guys this question. When it comes to these quote-unquote mask-wearing ICE agents, how many mask-wearing ICE agents have deleted anyone or excessively harmed anyone while detaining people? That's my question for you all. Has anyone heard of anything like that? If you guys have heard of anything like that, give me a thumbs up. If you have not heard of anything like that, give me a thumbs down. I haven't heard too many reports of ICE agents, let alone masked ICE agents, roughing anybody up in the process of detaining or taking anyone back, which is interesting. Here's another question that I have. How many people have heard any situation where somebody has died in ICE custody? If you guys have heard anything like that, give me a thumbs up. If you have not heard anything like that, then give me a thumbs down. All right. Now, we got to talk about your boy, Zoran Mamdini. All right. I asked this question before, but as long as this situation is going on and as long as we talk about it, I'm going to keep asking this question. How many people support Zoran Mamdini as the new mayor of New York? If you guys think that this guy would make a great mayor and improve New York, then give me a thumbs up. If you guys think that he's a clown and he's going to make New York worse than it already is, give me a thumbs down. Okay. So now here it says cringe-worthy moment. Socialist New York City mayor candidate Zoran Mamdini's rap video played during a live interview. Didn't think it would be on CNN. Now, how many people knew this guy had a rap video? I heard it's pretty bad. Yeah, this dude has a rap video. Okay, I can only imagine what it sounds like. So apparently he was embarrassed that it was brought up. That was not music to his ears. Democratic socialist Zoran Mamdini's 2019 rap video reached a national audience Thursday night during an incredibly awkward moment on a live CNN interview that left the New York City mayoral hopeful visibly uncomfortable. Mamdini appeared on Aaron Burnett's Out Front, and the infamous host used the C-grade hip-hop video as an introduction to the 33-year-old lefty Pole who performed under the name Mr. Cardamom. So he called himself Mr. Cardamom. Let's check this out.
We are back with Zoran Mamdani, who is poised to win the Democratic primary for New York City over Andrew Cuomo for New York City mayor. Before we
shout out to Greece. What's good with it, bro?
I just want to play, because that's what this is, play more.
Look at him. He don't look happy about it. He doesn't look happy about it. Real quick, shout out to everybody who's watching. If you guys have not smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you have not hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell, and also please share this stream to your social media.
We are back with Zohran Mamdani, who is poised to win the Democratic primary for New York City over Andrew Cuomo for New York City mayor. Before we continue the conversation, I just want to play, because that's what this is, play more of Mamdani telling his story.
So to quote the words of a famous New Yorker, allow me to reintroduce myself. I was born in Kampala, Uganda, in East Africa. I was given my middle name Kwame by my father, who named me after the first prime minister of Ghana.
I moved to this city when I was 7. This is the city I fell in love with, the city where I got my citizenship.
He's been in the New York Assembly for 4 years. And before that, he was an aspiring rapper under the name Mr. Cardamom. Listen.
Hey, shout out to PJ Allen. We got the Food Truck Chronicles right here.
Once you do it, it's out there. It never comes back. It's there.
Didn't think it was going to be on CNN.
It's there, and there it is. So what do you say to people who look at your background and they wonder? They say, okay, rising star you may be, but this is the largest city in America, $112 billion budget, 8 million people, and a hell of a lot of problems. And they say, okay, whatever the future may be, you're not ready now.
I would say that a campaign offers a glimpse of what an administration would look like. And we built a campaign the likes of which the city has not seen in a long time. We started with 2 full-time employees and now are managing 50,000 volunteers. At the beginning of this race, there were questions of whether we'd get 50,000 votes. And yet we had 50,000
volunteers.
50,000 volunteers who knocked on 1.5 million doors, made 2.1 million phone calls. And ultimately, it's a story of not only being able to inspire people, but absorb that inspiration and build an organization.
Now, here's my question. How did he get so much support? Quote unquote, people will say, quote unquote, nobody likes this guy, right? Clearly somebody does, because seems like he's got a lot of people working for him. So how did that happen? Who are these people that are doing this?
And I think that's also the story of what it means to run a city, that you are ultimately responsible, but you're also determined by hiring the best and the brightest. And that's what I'll be doing in City Hall. I'll be hiring those that have a clear track record of excellence, of results that come from a wide variety of mayoral administrations, and finally bring public excellence back into the public sector.
Finally bring public excellence back into the public sector. And this right here, this is the guy that's going to do it. Yeah, shout out to Carlton. Carlton asks a great question, and I'm going to pose this question to you guys, and you guys can tell me what you think. Carlton says, what's the demographic makeup of those 50,000 volunteers? That is a great question. What do you guys think? You know, if you ask me, you know, his volunteers, a lot of them probably came from that rap video. Okay? A lot of them probably came from that rap video. It says the Queen's Assemblyman grimaced and flinched as the video began to play, attempting to laugh off the remainder of his blush-inducing attempt at a music career. Once you do it, it's out there, Burnett said to Mamdani. It's there. I didn't think it would be on CNN, Mamdani said. Let me see. Hold on real quick. Sorry about that, y'all. Hold on 1 second. All right, there we go. Let me go back. It's there. I didn't think it was going to be on CNN, Mamdani said through a wincing smile. Burnett then pressed Mamdani, offering him a chance to respond to critics who suggest he is not ready now to be the mayor of the Big Apple. I would like to say a campaign offers a glimpse into what an administration would look like, and we built a campaign the likes of which the city has not seen in a long time, Mamdani replied, elding Mr. Cardamom's performance entirely. All right. Now, here's my question. What's the difference between his campaign and any other campaign? Shout out to James Sumler. What's good with it, bro? Mamdani's vanilla rhetoric Thursday was a far cry from the spicy bars he would drop under his sobriquet including some songs which gave outright endorsement of groups who supported the terror group Hamas. So, so there you go. Look at this. In 2017, he had a track and it was called Holy Land 5. Any of y'all, how many of y'all in the comment section be bumping Holy Land 5? If you bump Holy Man 5, give me a thumbs up. If you don't bump Holy Man 5, give me a thumbs down. He got another. I heard the second album was called. Oh man, I heard the second one was called, you know, Get Allah or Die Trying, but I don't know if that's true or not. That's why he called out 50 Cent. Oh man, Get Allah or Die Trying, you know. So in 2017, the track was called Holy Land 5. Right? Not Central Park 5, Holy Land 5. The presumptive Democratic mayoral candidate praised 5 men known as the Holy Land 5 from the Holy Land Foundation for Relief and Development who were convicted in 2008 of donating more than $12 million to Hamas. My love to the Holy Land 5. You better look them up. Mamdini, as Mr. Cardamom sang in a song called Salam. See, I told you. The song was called Salam, you know. Those 5 men, Sukri Abu Baker, Mohammed El Mizain, Ghassan Elashi, Mufid Abdukader, and Abdul Rahman Odeh, were convicted by the U.S. Justice Department on 108 counts, including supporting terrorism, tax fraud, and money laundering. Mamdini and his paltry rapping chops got an ego check from a real New York rapper, 50 Cent, who offered the socialist $258,000 to drop out of the race and leave New York for good. All right, we talked about that yesterday. So again, I here's my question. I want you guys to fast forward to the mayoral race, and let's just make the assumption. Let's just make the assumption that this guy wins. Okay, we're going to make the assumption that this guy wins. My question is, he wins this election. What does that do for New York City? What does that have New York City looking like? You guys let me know what you think, all right? In Milwaukee, there was a teacher's aide who self-deported with US-born twin daughters. Okay, this gets into that whole birthright thing. Now, again, questions everybody's thoughts on this birthright citizenship situation. Now, my question again, you know, I hear and see a lot of people cheering it on. My question is, what is the benefit of it? What's the benefit of it? So let's take a look and see what happened with this lady. And shout out to everybody watching.
Milwaukee Public Schools.
Shout out to everybody watching. I appreciate you guys. If you all haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor, take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys have not hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell, and also please share the stream to your social media.
Teacher's aide that's been at the center of a federal immigration fight says she's self-deporting. It comes after an order from immigration authorities to do so. 12 News' Zoe Henry joins us live from Milwaukee's Mitchell International Airport this morning. And Zoe, this all comes just a week after authorities accepted an appeal to allow her to stay in the country temporarily.
Yeah, Jaron. So Yesenia Verano stood right here in this concourse, giving her emotional goodbye to her family and friends before heading on her flight just down this hallway back to El Salvador.
How? I don't have idea. Because El Salvador is different than when I came 14 years ago. Then I had to be there to end up the process and to begin to start a new beginning.
In late May, Immigration Customs Enforcement denied her request to remain in the United States while her T visa was processing. At the time, her deadline to leave the U.S. was June 3rd. But in a statement to WISN 12 News earlier this month, Ruano's attorney, Mark Christopher, said an emergency stay had been filed and approved. Today, Ruano self-deported.
At least the case is open. That I feel like I will feel a little peace. Not fighting every year. We check here is so nice. The process is very hard. Like Sarah said, there is no a right pathway to get the president.
Now, I'm gonna say this about this situation with this lady, right? That lady, if you ask me, self-deporting, she seems like she actually does not want to ruin her chances of possibly getting into the country. So, you know, it seems to me like she might be trying to get out of here. So she's not banned, so she could try to come back through a legal pathway. I don't know a lot of stories, you know, where people are self-deporting. I haven't seen or heard any. Shout out to my man U-Law. What's good with it, bro? Now, we talked about Tren De Aragua at that Colorado apartment. We're going to go into that a little bit more because Tren De Aragua is back. Despite all of these deportations, despite all of these ICE raids, Tren De Aragua is still in Colorado causing mayhem. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of these issues that they caused. And do you all remember the names of the people who were arrested in regards to the harassment that Tren De Aragua was doing at the apartment? And do you guys remember yesterday? I was like, these names, as I'm listening to them, as I'm reading this article, these names don't sound like people who are a part of Tren De Aragua. Do you guys recall me saying that? Well, we're going to take a look at them. They got some pictures, okay? Ruthless, armed Tren De Aragua gangbangers menace residents in Colorado apartment complex. A chilling video shows, okay? So let's take a look at this. Hopefully, let me see. Hopefully it'll play. I don't know if it will or not. Yeah, it don't look like it's going to play. That's all right. A gun-toting crew of 9 suspected Tren De Aragua gangbangers unleashed chaos at a Colorado apartment complex just 1 year after the notorious Venezuelan gang seized properties across the state and sparked a wave of violent crime. Now, I want to ask you guys this question. Let's just say, for instance, you happen to live in an area, an apartment complex, somewhere where Tren De Aragua decided to take over. My question for you all is, how would you deal with it directly? What would you do? Chilling doorbell footage captured the disturbing moment the violent thugs brandished firearms and repeatedly knocked on the door of a Potomac Street apartment in Aurora on June 9th. Aurora Police Chief Todd Chamberlain shared during a news conference Tuesday afternoon. The heavily armed group pestered the complex for about a minute before they left, the footage showed. There is without question gang involvement in this, Chamberlain said, explaining how terrifying the incident is, very reminiscent of what the city experienced in the past at another apartment building. And we covered those situations on this channel. Okay. I look at these individuals like a cancer, not a benign cancer. They are a cancer that is causing victimization. They are a cancer that must be addressed. They must be cut out and they must be stopped. Okay. 2 of the gang members. Look. Larry Galbraith and Jordan Green have since been arrested as police work aggressively to pursue the remaining individuals involved, who are all believed to be Venezuelan. We're supposed to believe that this guy is Venezuelan? And we're supposed to believe that somebody named Larry Galbraith and Jordan Green are Venezuelan? It says 2 of the gang's members. Cops have also recovered a gun matching the one seen in the video from a tattooed and marked Galbraith, who also lived in the same building his crew allegedly targeted. So now again, Tren De Aragua was quote unquote his crew. Now look look right there. Those apartments look raunchy, and that's crazy. That's not even like Metropolitan Housing Authority. That's a privately owned apartment building. Hey, shout out to Jesse. What's good with it, bro? Shout out to, if you guys agree with Carlton. Carlton said that looks like Leroy Jenkins Jr., bro. Or someone, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. That looks like Leroy Jenkins Jr. This isn't something we are reacting to. This is something that we are proactively addressing with everything that we possibly do. Everything that we can possibly achieve and everyone we can hold accountable, we will do so. A quiet bedroom community, which is Aurora, Colorado, with a population of 395,000, directly east of Denver, emerged last year as a stronghold for the ruthless gang, which gained national attention after wreaking havoc on migrant residents living at apartment complexes that were commandeered. Okay, and these places are like straight just roach pits. These are gutter. These are gutter places. You know what I'm saying? These are like these are gutter places. Shout out to Carlton. Carlton said he wasn't TDA, he was FBA. Hey, that's a fact. If y'all agree with Carlton, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to MC Fact. What's good with it, bro? Yeah, he definitely is not eating pupusas or no tamales or nothing like that. Homeboy eating grits. he eating grits and eggs, cream of wheat, you know, that type of thing, right? Chamberlain said the individuals allegedly targeted in last week's heroin attack had moved to the area just 2 days earlier from Venezuela, adding that he was grateful that they didn't open their door. I shudder to think what would have happened to them, he said. They might have had some firepower on the other side of that door. They weren't there with coffee cake and a welcoming tray. They was there with some other type of cake, right? They was there with other type of baked goods, right? They were there with guns. But unfortunately, that is what we have seen at that apartment complex and what we've been dealing with. Chamberlain said the police department has responded to 44 calls for service at the complex related to 12 separate incidents, including threats made to tenants, shots fired, and squatting since August of 2024. Now, have you guys heard of this menacing squatting situation that's been going on? I mean, there's been this situation with this criminal squatting that is wild. And we're going to briefly touch on it if we get the opportunity, okay? But I think that that's something that people should really be aware of, is these squatting situations, okay? Because people are weaponizing these squatting situations, and lots of people are losing their property as a result of this. Police are now working with state and federal partners, including the Department of Homeland Security and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to catch remaining perps. The community was also encouraged to come forward with any information on suspected gang activity. Aurora is not taken over by gang members by any stretch of the imagination, Chamberlain said. We will not rest until no one left in that apartment complex and any other apartment complex in Aurora is victimized the way that we have seen in past victimization occur. Tips relating to the case can be sent to Metro Denver Crime Stoppers. Now, if you ask me, right, with these kind of questions, with these kind of problems that they're having in Denver, they need to start deputizing their sheriffs to become ICE agents like that community in Ohio. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. Now, again, I gotta put this guy up on the screen. Shout out to him. This is your notorious Tren De Aragua gang member, Leroy Jenkins Jr. the third. Yeah, I kind of question that. How does he communicate with these gang members? This brother's fluent in Espanol with a Venezuelan seasoning on it, right? I don't know. I'd be interested. let me ask you guys this question. When they interrogated him, do you guys think that they interrogated him in English, or did they interrogate him in Espanol? Let me know. Shout out to Jesse. Jesse says they refuse to cooperate with ICE here. Let me ask you guys this. In Denver, they have a governor and they have mayors that refuse to cooperate with ICE. How many people believe that that governor and those mayors that refuse to cooperate with ICE should be voted out at the next opportunity? If you guys think that those people got to go, then give me a thumbs up. If you think, no, they should stick around, they're doing a pretty decent job, then give me a thumbs down. Now, you guys remember those No Kings protests? A volunteer at a No Kings protest fatally shot an immigrant during a protest in Utah. How many people heard about this? I thought that like those No King protests were like pro-migrant, pro-illegal migrant protests. I didn't know they was out here, gathering them up and shooting them. You know what I'm saying? But apparently that's what happened here. No Kings volunteer fatally shot an immigrant at a Utah protest. Our team of safety volunteers who have been selected because of their military, I guess, experience, first responder, and other relevant de-escalation experience, believed there was an imminent threat to protesters and took action. They got rid of him. And the threat was, ironically, one of the quote-unquote very people that these protests were quote-unquote allegedly meant to protect. Just interesting, right? A military veteran who inadvertently fatally shot a demonstrator at a Salt Lake City No Kings rally while trying to stop an alleged gunman was a safety volunteer for the protest, according to police and organizers. So this individual that ended up getting deleted was not the perpetrator. I guess the person who was the safety volunteer, which is why he was a volunteer and not doing this professionally, must have not had very good aim. The safety volunteer, who has not been identified publicly, fired 3 rounds at Arturo Gamboa, who was 24, who allegedly brandished a rifle at Saturday's crowd. The gunshots hit both Gamboa and the protester, Arthur Folasa Alu, police said. Gamboa did not fire the rifle, and no former criminal charges have been filed against him. However, he was arrested on suspicion of murder and accused of creating the dangerous situation that led to Alu's death, police said. He remained in custody as of Tuesday, according to jail logs. Now, I think this is interesting, right? They didn't arrest the volunteer, and the volunteer actually deleted somebody. Like, if that makes sense, give me a thumbs up. If it doesn't make sense, then give me a thumbs down. Shout out to Black Spider. I appreciate you, Black Spider. Make sure you guys show Black Spider some love. Throw some flames, some radiation emoji, and some ducks in the chat for Black Spider for funding the organization. Definitely appreciate you, Black Spider.
How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the March of Dimes.
Definitely appreciate you. All right. So now here it says it is unclear what Gamboa intended to do with the rifle. His father, reached by the Associated Press on Tuesday, declared his son's innocence. What about the guy that got deleted? What about the guy that got deleted? My son, Arturo Gamboa, is an innocent guy. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Albert Gamboa said in a brief phone call. The investigation includes whether the safety volunteer was justified in the shooting, the Salt Lake City Police Department said on Monday. Utah is an open carry state, meaning people who can legally own a firearm are generally allowed to carry it on a public street. Police said the permit for the protest did not specify that there would be armed security, and event staffers' roles and responsibilities were being investigated. The protest of some 10,000 people was otherwise peaceful. Now, let me ask you guys this. It sounds to me in this situation like there's going to be somebody that kind of just gets away with murder. It sounds like in this situation, somebody's just going to get away with murder. This person is just going to get away with a deletion. Here's what is known so far about the shooting, how it unfolded. Thousands of protesters were marching through downtown Salt Lake when around 8 p.m., the veteran and another man said they spotted Gamboa, who was wearing all black clothing, move behind a wall and withdraw a rifle from a backpack, according to a police news release. Now, again, if they were in a public area, you would assume that there would be some type of camera footage, right? There would be some type of camera footage that would show this, right? But I don't know if there is or isn't. And because they're using these testimonies and there's not a video posted, it's hard to say, right? And shout out to Tariq. Yo, we got 20 likes. That's what's good. If you guys haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys have not hit that bell, please take a moment, hit that bell, and also please share the stream to your social media. Okay? The two men drew their handguns and ordered Gamboa to drop the rifle, but witnesses said instead he moved toward the crowd and held his rifle in a firing position, according to the police. The safety volunteer shot 3 rounds, hitting Gamboa and Alu. Gamboa's wound was relatively minor, and he was arrested by nearby police who found a rifle, a gas mask, and a backpack in the area. Alu died after being taken to a hospital. Police said they did not know yet why Gamboa had the rifle or allegedly disobeyed the orders from the 2 men. And again, what do you guys think about that? The protest was one of hundreds nationwide Saturday against President Donald Trump's military parade in Washington, which marked the Army's 250th anniversary and coincided with Trump's birthday. All right, so the Utah chapter of 50501 movement, which helped organize the No Kings protest. All right, so 5051 movement. All right, that's the name of the organization that helped to organize the No Kings protest. Now, this 5051 movement, we should keep an eye on this organization and see where they're getting their funding from and why they're supporting this quote-unquote No Kings protest, okay? They said in a statement Monday that the man who confronted Gamboa was a safety volunteer and meant to help maintain order and a military veteran. Our team of safety volunteers who have been selected because of their military, first responder, or other relevant de-escalation experience believed there was an imminent threat to protesters and took action. Now, it's interesting because what ended up happening was that the safety officers were a terminal threat to one of the protesters, seeing how the safety officers deleted one of the protesters. The group did not give further details on the person's training or explain why he was armed. Sarah Parker, a national coordinator for 5051, which helped organize the No Kings protest across the country, said all attendees, including those in safety roles, were not asked to bring weapons. Okay, so now you have to ask the question, well, why did this safety volunteer have a weapon? That's the question. Hey, shout out to Carlton. Make sure y'all show Carlton some love. I appreciate you, bro. Throw some flames, some radiation emojis, some ducks in the chat for Carlton. Carlton said, now you can get some XR. My bad. Wrong stream. Hey, hey, regardless of what stream it is, it's always the right time to get some XRP. Make sure y'all show Carlton some love. Throw some flames, some radiation emojis, some ducks in the chat for Carlton for funding the organization.
How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the March of Dimes. How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the March of Dimes.
I may as well hit it twice. Definitely appreciate you, bro. May as well hit it twice, right? It's extremely rare for safety teams, often called safety marshals, to be armed. Instead, they rely on calm demeanor, communication skills, and relationship with police and protesters to help keep order, said Edward McGuire, an Arizona State University criminology and criminal justice professor. Arming marshals or peacekeepers is widely discouraged, and it tends to create more of a problem than it solves, McGuire said. So there you go. So what's interesting about this situation is it doesn't seem like this practice. It doesn't seem like this practice at this protest did the job. What it seems like is that this practice at this protest created more of an issue. Okay. Alu was a successful fashion designer and former Project Runway contestant who devoted his life to celebrating artists from the Pacific Islands. Benjamin Powell, a friend of Alu's, said the 39-year-old was born in Samoa but lived in Utah for about a decade. Alu, a self-taught designer known to many as Afa, devoted his life to quote-unquote doing good things for his neighbors and community. How did he end up catching the fatal bullet? State Representative Verona Maugwa, a close friend, told the Associated Press. Their family were both from the small village of Lotapa in Samoa, she said. Alu leaves behind a wife, two young children, according to a GoFundMe page for his family. Powell said he and Alu were working on an August fashion show, which Powell said will now honor Alu's unwavering commitment to his community. So, yeah, this is irony, right? Shout out to Hurricane IQ. What's good with you, bro? This is very ironic. You know, rest in peace to that individual. A lot of questions to be asked, right? A lot of questions to be asked. Now, I had this other article. I'm gonna kind of put this article to the back, and we're gonna kind of go into a little bit about this birthright citizenship situation. Shout out to everybody watching. I appreciate you guys. If you all have not hit that like button, please do me a favor, take a moment, hit that like button. Also, please share the stream to your social media. All right. So they're saying that Trump scored a major win. They're saying that Trump scored a major win in the citizenship case as Supreme Court curbs nationwide injunction. Okay. So my question is, exactly what is the situation now with birthright citizenship? Somebody let me know. Okay. Somebody said that Jeff Bezos, I think he spent like $11 million on his marriage. You know what I'm saying? He spent $11 million on his marriage. How many people, if you had $11 million, would spend $11 million on the marriage? $11 million would have got you probably more servicing in one night at a strip club than it will get you for your entire marriage, right? But Jeff Bezos decided to spend it on a marriage. I hope it's worth it. I hope it's worth it. I'm just saying, a lot of people may not agree with that logic, but, you know, I don't know. Most people usually try to find a better bang for their buck. Like I said, $11 million get you more service probably than you can fit into 24 hours at a strip club or at a quote-unquote particular massage parlor. Probably in that 24 hours, you'll get more quote-unquote servicing than you'll get for your entire marriage. He definitely didn't become a billionaire making business decisions like that. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. All right. So let's see what happens here, right? The U.S. Supreme Court ruled Friday that nationwide injunctions issued by lower court judges likely exceeded the judicial branch's constitutional authority, handing a major boost to President Trump's push to end birthright citizenship. Now, again, let me ask you guys this question. Do you all agree with this statement? The U.S. Supreme Court ruled Friday that nationwide injunctions issued by lower court judges likely exceeded the judicial branch's constitutional authority, handing a major boost to President Trump's push to end birthright citizenship. Okay, the case Trump versus CASA Inc. revolved around the administration's challenge to multiple lower courts' sweeping injunctions against the president's day one order overturning the longstanding constitutional protection. Now, the actual question here is this situation constitutional? Is birthright citizenship constitutional? That should be the basis of this argument. So I'm going to ask you guys, is birthright citizenship, the way it's being applied, constitutional? Why or why not? That is what we need to deal with here. The Supreme Court did not address the merits of Trump's actual order in its opinion, only the extent to which one of nearly 700 district judges in the U.S. could block an executive action from taking place. So I want you guys to understand what's going on here. What's going on here is the constitutionality of the 14th Amendment and its application is not being tested. What's being tested here is the constitutional authority of lower court judges. Right? If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. What that means is that the blurriness of the application of the 14th Amendment is still out there, and nothing has been done to fully define and barricade a specific use for the 14th Amendment. What's being tested here is judicial authority. Now, here's my question. What does that do? What does that do? The Supreme Court did not address the merits of Trump's actual order in its opinion, only the extent to which one of the nearly 700 district judges in the U.S. could block an executive action from taking effect. Now, this doesn't say that it tests the definition or application of the 14th Amendment at all. So my question is, why are people celebrating this? That's my question. I don't understand why there's a celebration about this. This doesn't test anything about the 14th Amendment. All of that stuff that we talked about in the last live stream, none of that even is gone over. Now, look who's sitting. Now, I want you guys to pay close attention. Look at the individual that's standing in front of this podium that has a poster on it that says birthright citizenship is constitutional. Is it? Okay. They got a mascot right there. Let me ask, I want to, how do you guys feel about this mascot? Shout out to Hurricane IQ. Hurricane IQ says, what a surprise. Yeah, I would agree. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. Specific bullet points and applications of how the 14th Amendment should be applied in situations has not been tested. Defining and blocking off the 14th Amendment is the only way to make sure that the 14th Amendment is not abused as it has been abused. However, that's not what's going on. Now, here's my question. Here's the question, right? Why is that not being discussed? Why is this being discussed as a quote unquote win. From my understanding, birthright citizenship is still on the table. Not only is birthright citizenship still on the table, the only thing that happened is that the requirements got somewhat cut. One of the parents has to be legal. So you still have a parent that's not legal. There's still a form of quote unquote birthright citizenship that provides access to undocumented people on the books. So again, I don't understand why this is being celebrated. The use of the 14th Amendment as a vehicle to illegal entry into the country and the use of 14th Amendment to apply birthright citizenship to people who are not being described in the situation that the 14th Amendment was created for, that not being specifically defined, anything outside of that is not anything anybody should be bumping pom-poms together for. Yeah, shout out to Carlton. I wouldn't, if you guys would agree with Carlton and my man We Lit, shout out to We Lit. Give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. Carlton said a long time ago, We Lit said that black folks are used as a Trojan horse to usher in nonsense. He hit the nail on the head. Now, here's a situation where people are being used in both situations. They're being used, right, to be outraged about the 14th Amendment, and Trump will run game and say, I'm about to fix this. And they're also being used to gaslight the use of the 14th Amendment. And at the same time, literally nothing is being done. And nothing is being done on the Trump end because people who are outraged about the use of the 14th Amendment seem to not have a competent understanding of the law and what's happening. We'll just flash images and say you have things taken from you, and people are like, yeah, rah, 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 do what you're doing. And what's being done is not anything to barricade off this law, because what needs to be done is the law needs to be barricaded off. So what you have happening is you have the mascotting being shifted. The mascotting is being shifted. You're no longer a Democrat mascot. Now you're a Trump stooge and mascotting for Trump. Again, I want to ask the question, how has Trump barricaded off the 14th Amendment? Because if people want what they say they want, what needs to be done is the 14th Amendment and who it was made for needs to be written out, applied, tested in the judicial system. And then what needs to be said is that people cannot enter the country using this method. That's not what happened here. What happened here is the authority and reach of lower court judges are being tested, not the constitutionality of the 14th Amendment. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. Nowhere in this did it say that they're defining the use case of the 14th Amendment. What they're doing is saying which judges have the power to do what nationwide. That's a redefinition of the judicial system and the order of operations of appellate versus a Supreme Court. That doesn't have anything to do with the actual 14th Amendment that is inked onto the Constitution, which is the root of the problem. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. But now, because in 2025, so many people want to celebrate some type of victory so quickly, all you have to do is throw a flash headline out there. Everybody's making a million videos about it, and everybody is saying this is a win, yet no one can say how much net worth did this place into my wealth. Right? Now, while there's eyes on the 14th Amendment, people need to be saying the 14th Amendment is the same argument, right? The same argument that people use to try to block people off from a reparations conversation is the exact same argument that could be used to block people off abusing the 14th Amendment. Because make no mistake, it's the Democrats and the constituencies that they appeal to that are not among the same ethnicity or race as us that are abusing the use of the 14th Amendment. And the Democrats are selling 14th Amendment use. Hey, 14th Amendment use, we, we'll let you, change your gender. 14th Amendment use, give you birthright citizenship. None of that was even applicable when the 14th Amendment was written. That's not what's being argued. That's not what's being argued. I don't understand why people are, no. This is carefully being crafted and still being left on the books. Let me ask you guys this question. If the situation and the argument is about judicial reach or judicial overreach, how is the 14th Amendment even the topic of discussion in these proceedings? There's no who's come out and defined the 14th Amendment. No one's defining the 14th Amendment. They're talking about judicial overreach between state versus federal. Why is this not being discussed in those terms is the question. Look at this. At the White House, Trump called the ruling a monumental victory for the Constitution. Now, as far as a monumental victory for the Constitution, it's not a monumental victory for the Constitution in terms of defining and barricading the 14th Amendment. It's a monumental victory for the Constitution in defining the role of judges in the United States Circuit Court system, not anything about the 14th Amendment. Just who can define it in the order of operations of who has the most authority on defining it and applying it. Not addressing the 14th Amendment. Why are people selling you this as if the 14th Amendment has been addressed? Why? And why are people accepting that? And announced plans to have his birthright citizenship order, as well as other policies that have been blocked by federal courts. Okay, so I want you guys to understand, it's the federal court blocking that he has an issue with, not defining the 14th Amendment. Okay? This whole thing is it's not about defining the 14th Amendment. If the 14th Amendment was defined sufficiently, none of this would even be going on. They would have to take other avenues to be able to justify allowing undocumented and DACA people to stay here. So again, my thing is, if I'm just being a contrarian or whatever that people like to say, again, it's the same thing that I always say. If I'm incorrect, then correct me. Where am I wrong at? So again, this is a mirage. This is a smokescreen. The very people that are cheering this on are getting net negative nothing out of this. You know what I'm saying? You should only spend capital, whether it's emotional capital, whether it's time capital. You should only spend capital when you're getting something in return. No one's getting anything in return out of this, except the Trump administration. But these type of issues are highly charged emotional issues and an easy way to get an eye on situations. Now, I want you guys to understand this. Many people's biggest gripe with Trump is Trump sat up there and stacked the Supreme Court. How many people have heard that? If you guys have heard that, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. For one, stacking the Supreme Court is strategy. So one issue that people have with Trump is that Trump used strategy, right? Now, the second issue is that people are saying Trump stacked the Supreme Court so that he could have as much power as he wants, right? How do you do that? You define the checks and balances. Yeah, we have a checks and balances system, But if we have a checks and balances system where the people who are supposed to be running those checks and balances are completely compliant with one person from the executive branch, then for the most part, you basically like put together this situation where you have ultimate power. Hey, it is what it is. That's what you do, right? You solve the puzzle. It is what it is. I'm not criticizing any of that. That's just the strategy that was done, right? So now what's being done is now that Trump has the judges in the higher courts, he's using those judges to apply authority to the lower courts. And how can we do it? We can do it through birthright citizenship. We know that this is a hot button issue. We'll call it the birthright citizenship issue. But what this actually is doing is this is creating a chain of command and chain of authority so that there's no question of where the power trickles down from. And the power trickles down from the court, the Trump appointed Supreme Court justices. That is what this is about. There's been no change in the law. There's been no change in how birthright citizenship can be applied. Let me ask you guys this question. What is the change? I want to ask you guys this question. How can you expect a political party that doesn't even acknowledge, they don't even acknowledge, anytime they get the opportunity, they crap on the situation that created the 14th Amendment? Why do you think that natural enemies of the 14th Amendment would ever do anything to validate it? Why? I want people to understand there's got to be a deeper sense of cerebral analysis when it comes to looking at this stuff. This is nothing more than a vehicle to provide more power. And again, I'm not criticizing that. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. Right? You're supposed to put your chess pieces on the board. I just think that people should be aware of the situation and not expect anything to come of it. There's nothing that's going to come of this. Nothing that's going to be visible for us anyway, at least. But people should be fully aware of that. People shouldn't get sucked into the mirage thinking that this is some type of judicial magic trick that's going to provide some unseen benefit or going to block people out of anything, because that's not what's happening. It's not what's happening. What's happening here is the same situation as somebody who works at a company who wants to take advantage of a slip and fall accident. Yeah, I work here. It's unfortunate that I slipped and fell, but since I slipped and fell, forget working here to feed my family. Now I'm going to use this place as a cash cow to get myself rich. It's called situational maneuvering. Yeah, I mean, the party that I'm a part of doesn't even acknowledge that these things of the past took place. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this situation that was generated out of things that happened in the past to increase my reach and power through the Supreme Court. And I know that there's people that are emotionally attached to these arguments. So I'm going to put this in their face and sell it to them as something that is going to improve situations for them. Again, my question is, how does this improve a situation for you? Now, people are sitting here talking about, Trump in Israel and Trump in Russia and Trump in the art of the deal. People aren't even really getting that you just got art of the deal. You know what I'm saying? You just got art of the deal. I'm just saying. In 2028, I want everybody to give me a line item accounting of how much money they made as a result of this headline. And we'll bring the conversation back up. I'm just saying. What a victory for this would have looked like. A victory for this would have been acknowledgement of the situation that created the 14th Amendment and said that these people are who the 14th Amendment was made for. Now, I want you guys to understand, The 14th Amendment doesn't even need to exist anymore. And the 14th Amendment can exist based on right-wing. The 14th Amendment doesn't have to exist based on right-wing gaslighting, because right-wing gaslighting is actually applicable in this situation. Nobody alive today was born from a slave in the United States. Why aren't they saying that in regards to this? The 14th Amendment shouldn't exist because nobody alive today was born from a slave. Boom, there it is right there. I mean, it's an irrefutable fact. Right? That's how you take care of that one. Right? Why is this stuff unconstitutional? It's unconstitutional because the 14th Amendment was created to deal with freemen after the Emancipation Proclamation, right? After the Emancipation Proclamation, since then, no one in the United States has been born from slaves. The 14th Amendment can have its jersey retired. That takes care of that. That cooks that. That's what a V looks like in this situation. And you cook them with their own talking points. That didn't happen. And again, right? These are simply topics for discussion, right? Me having this perspective doesn't write it in stone. It's simply a perspective. But, you know, instead of people leaving the chat, deal with the situation at hand. Am I correct or am I incorrect? That's the thing that matters. Because if I'm correct, then that means that there's loose ends that need to be tied up. But this is exposing, right, that people don't want to tie up their own loose ends. They want somebody else to tie up the loose ends. So again, when you have somebody has a conflict of interest, because there's a conflict of interest here, how you expect this person to deal with the issues that we got? This is one of the reasons. Now, listen, Trump is from the right wing. The right wing doesn't acknowledge the history of the United States. So there's no way they could ever say anything to substantiate the 14th Amendment. Trump is an immigrant. Trump relates to people who benefit from the 14th Amendment. So of course he's not going to get rid of it. He actually qualifies as one of the people that he changed the 14th Amendment for. Trump is somebody who is married to an immigrant who has had kids from an immigrant. He changed the 14th Amendment to somewhat mirror his family situations. He didn't do none of this for us. This is what people need to pay attention to. Right? So that needs to get hammered on. Okay, we need to, all these people, you know, right wing, you know, Amy Coney Barrett and Fox News and all these independent YouTubers. Right? Okay, let's have a forum about this. But again, what's going on is this is allowing other people to front run the conversation. And then everyone is getting sold a victory. Yeah, let's pop some bubbly. Pop some bubbly for what? And again, this is what I'm saying. Instead of actually saying, you know what, we need to push this harder. You know what I'm saying? We need to run this down the line. People can't even tolerate dealing with it. So they bounce out instead of actually saying something if they disagree. If you disagree, put it in the chat. You can't keep running away like Farside. Right? This is a smokescreen. This is a mirage. if you're going to get something out of it. Open up your hand and have some cash that you can count, or open up your hand and have a tangible resource that you can say, this is what I got out of this interaction. I don't know what people can show that they have as a result of this interaction. I can tell you I can tell you who's going to have something out of this interaction. Out of this interaction, Trump is going to have more powerful Supreme Court justices as they rule the constitutionality of the power that the lower Supreme Court justices have. And they front run it and label it with this as the issue. Again, where is it being defined who the 14th Amendment was made for? Where did it just fall out of the sky? When it comes to these discussions, nobody's been discussing this. And people are gaslighting and making it like they have been, like they just had a 10-hour chambers, you know what I'm saying, going over the history of slavery. That didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure that everyone is very, very clear and aware that that did not happen. And if it did happen, please somebody shoot me the clips. If it did happen, it would be on C-SPAN or Forbes Business. Forbes News would have posted it. I'm sure somebody would have got cooked there. They got a little 5-minute video of somebody getting lit up at a Senate hearing. You know what I'm saying? Josh Hawley and Nancy Mace and Marjorie Taylor Greene, all they good for that, right? Where is it? I'm just letting people know, right? 6/28/2025. This is another quote unquote "we was tricked" situation. Wait for it. Bookmark this part of the video. All right. Federal courts do not exercise oversight of the executive branch. So again, right? Where's the discussions about, you know what I'm saying, people who were born slaves? Again, this is talking about court oversight. Federal courts do not exercise general oversight of the executive branch. They resolve cases and controversies consistent with the authority Congress has given them. Conservative Amy Coney Barrett wrote for the court's majority, which they call an Amy Coney Barrett a conservative, but she always is the one conservative that votes liberal on every issue. When a court concludes the executive branch has acted unlawfully, the answer is not for the court to exceed its power to. The government's application to partially stay the preliminary injunctions are granted, Barrett wrote, but only to the extent that the injunctions are broader than necessary to provide complete relief to each plaintiff withstanding to sue. So again, where are we defining the 14th Amendment? This is the judge this is Amy Coney Barrett, the judge, one of the judges, talking. She didn't say anything about any of this. Nationwide injunctions have frequently been used by lower courts to stop executive actions from applying across the board rather than just granting relief to the plaintiffs who sued. Again, where are we defining the 14th Amendment at? Shout out to Jesse. Jesse says, you making people think, Rob. You know people hate that these days, but they love Dane Calloway, though. He makes people think. I make people think. Shout out to Jesse, right? I'm trying to make somebody think. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make people think, but I don't have 1,500 people in my chat. I got 15. I'm just saying. And again, as you can see, the focus of this is establishing a chain of authority, a strict chain of authority, so that these lower courts can't block Trump's executive actions, so that the executive actions can be absolute. That's what this is about. Shout out to Carlton. Yeah, facts. He's Donald Trump, not Donald Washington. Facts. Right? Trump's actions had been the subject of 25 injunctions between the start of his term in January and the end. What's going on here is Trump is trying to get this together so that these people can stop blocking his executive orders. That's what's going on. That's to break this. Shout out to Keith Murray, right? To break this down like an organic compound. That's what this is about. Shout out to Carlton Wade. Carlton Wade said, thinking is tough these days. That's why we have AI to think for us. Yeah. Rest in peace to organic thinking, right? Because machine learning is the new evolutionary step, right? Justices across the ideological spectrum. Look, justices from across the ideological spectrum have long raised concerns about lower courts overstepping their authority. But during oral arguments, the nation's top court still struggled over how or whether to draw the line. Barrett wrote that universal injunctions lack a historical pedigree. So if they was talking about history, right, they didn't talk about the history of the 14th Amendment. They're talking about historical pedigree and a record of precedent when it comes to establishing a chain of authority with the federal court system. American-born children are American children. This is false. This is not true. Children born in America from released slaves are American children. No one is saying any of that in any official capacity where it will actually matter. And honestly, if they did say that, that would take care of all of the argument necessary. But if they did say that, they would open up a can of worms with that particular direction of politics acknowledging the history of this country, because they can't acknowledge it. While Jamal Bowman sits up there and quote unquote talks about the history of the country. Shout out to Carlton, right? Using the baby as a political tool, knowing that baby got some little fat cheeks, right? Little fat chubby cheeks. Everybody, you know what I'm saying? Be like, oh, look at the fat, look at the little baby. You know, everybody gonna do that. Most people love them a baby. You know what I'm saying? So of course they put the baby right out there. But she and the other conservative justices, in their concurring opinion, seemingly suggest that class action lawsuits are a viable tool that can be used against illegal presidential actions. Okay? Class action suits require lawyers to go through a more rigorous process to seek relief than for cases brought by individuals. So again, we're talking about case law, execution of it, and how to deal with government, executive, and judicial conflict and judicial order of authority. That's what this is all about. Shout out to J Lord. What's good with it, J Lord? That's what this is all about. This is the reason why I want people to find me publications where this is the thing that all the content creators on YouTube are saying. Show me where this is being discussed. This, in terms of this, is not being discussed anywhere other than social media about this. Everywhere where it actually matters, it's being discussed in terms of order of power to establish a chain of authority. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. And again, this is the reality check. I've never seen people want to be so willingly delusional. But I mean, again, if people want to be willingly delusional, just understand what comes with that. Understand what comes with that, and then don't act surprised when it gets here. The class action is a powerful tool. They're talking about how class action lawsuits can be applied and who can apply them and for what. The class action is a powerful tool. We have accordingly held that class certification is proper only if the court is satisfied after a rigorous analysis. Conservative Justice Samuel Alito noted in concurring opinion. Now, as you guys know, the 14th Amendment, right? The 14th Amendment also is what they use to attempt to facilitate justification of abortion, right? If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. How do you manipulate the 14th Amendment? They're using it here to say, if you're born here, right? If you're born here, you get to become a citizen. And at the same time, they have the same law is used to justify anti-birth. Well, you know, it's okay to, you know, to anti-birth somebody. Like, how does that make sense? And it's all based in the same alleged constitutional amendment, the 14th Amendment. How? And I'm going to tell you why these kind of things don't happen. People have to be fed a narrative. And if the narrative doesn't go with exactly what people say, they can't tolerate it. So a more effective narrative that would actually be a knockout punch, people are not going to give that explanation the necessary eyes that it needs to have. So then the fake explanation will continue. And then 10 years down the line, when people see that there's no change in anything as a result of this, they'll ask how it happened. How it happened is that people make it happen. People are making this happen. People are making it happen. People want their little victory. They want the little victory dance right now, instead of actually making sure that when you put the person on the mat, that they actually don't get up ever again. That's how. That's how. Understand, people choose. Understand, people choose. Liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor penned the official dissent, which she read from the bench in rare gesture of public disagreement with her colleagues, but it was concurring dissent from Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson that drew a rare rebuke from Barrett. Jackson agreed with Sotomayor's dissent, but emphasized that the Trump administration's push to nix nationwide injunctions was effectively a request for this court's permission to engage in unlawful behavior. Where are they talking about defining the 14th Amendment? So again, if they're talking about the 14th Amendment, then why are they saying the things that I'm saying and not saying the things that anybody else is saying? Why is that? Why is that? So in 2025, the legacy of quote unquote "we was tricked" lives on. Unlike a rule of king's governing system, in a rule of law regime, nearly every act of government may be challenged by an appeal to a law, Jackson wrote. At the very least, I lament that the majority is so caught up in minute of the government's self-serving, finger-pointing arguments that it misses the plot. Again, they're talking about order of authority, Supreme Court versus lower courts, and executive collaboration with the judicial branch. again, no one cares about the 14th Amendment when you get down to this level of this situation. Okay. Now, shout out to Black Spider. Black Spider says WS always takes both sides. Mixed messages. If you ask me, one reason why they take both sides is because there's always a vacancy on one side versus the other. It's hard. It's hard to not take both sides when you have people cheering it on. They wouldn't be able to take both sides if the people were not cheering it on. If the people took a definitive stance and said, when is this particular issue going to be addressed to respect our historical legacy, that would be the stance that they wouldn't be able to take. Right? But no one does that. Everybody says that they do, but nobody does. Everybody says that they do, but nobody's saying anything that I say. You know what I'm saying? Literally, no one's saying what I'm saying. And the reason why no one's saying what I'm saying is because what I'm saying is right and it's irrefutable. You have to not be right and you have to not be irrefutable in order for people to support what you're saying. Being right and being irrefutable means that you took a stance. People have to be flexible to be able to have some wiggle room so they could change as the environment changes. I don't need to change as the environment changes. I don't have any plans on doing that. And this is the reason why I always ask. No one has ever gotten blocked, removed, or any of that from my chat for disagreeing with something that I'm saying. Right? So again, this is why I always ask the question, am I wrong or am I right? If I'm right about this, why are there not more videos saying, when is this going to get addressed, instead of videos saying that this got addressed? And it didn't. That's the reality, is that it didn't get addressed. Like, you know what I'm saying? But people are saying it and people are buying it, and that's cool. But just understand what comes with that, right? If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. So now here it's again, we go back to this. The majority now does what none of the lower courts have considered, she added. Notably, the court has not determined that any of the lower courts were wrong about their conclusion that the executive order likely violates the Constitution. The executive order likely violates the Constitution as a result of court order of authority, not anything to do with the 14th Amendment. We will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself, wrote Barrett in a jaw-dropping rebuke of her colleague. We observe only this. Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary. Again, where's anything being clarified about the quote-unquote 14th Amendment? You don't have to clarify anything about the 14th Amendment if you have control over the branch of the government that can interpret it at its will. And what needs to be ironclad is the interpretation. Yeah, shout out to Carlton. This is facts. I've never done that to anybody. Everybody has the right to agree or disagree over here, right? But you'll have people get emotional and leave the chat instead of actually dealing with the situation. And again, the fact that people don't want to deal with the situation or with situations is why situations remain. I'm not going to sit here and tell people a bunch of nonsense, at least on this channel. You know, we'll do that on the reacts, right? But not on this channel. So again, here we go right here. Waving away attention to the limits on judicial power as a mind-numbing technical inquiry, she offers a vision of the judicial role that would make even the most ardent defender of judicial supremacy blush. Again, where is the addressing of the 14th Amendment? It's very clear. I'm going to ask you guys this question. Shout out to Brooklyn Queen. What's good with the Brooklyn Queen? I'm going to ask you guys this question. What is being addressed here? This is how there's multiple things that are being addressed in this period during the court. It's not just birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship is just the one that people decided to attach to, right? But there's a lot of other things that are going on here too. Why are there all of these other things going on? Because it's the process that's being questioned, not in any individual thing. Because once they get the process down, then they could target and do whatever they want to and say, see, we're allowed to do this legally. So it's the legal process that's being established, not any one particular law or any one particular statute or anything like that. So, you know, again, right? I'm incorrect. I've been incorrect. I've always been under the assumption that people wanted to know what's actually going on. But in my experience, I've come to find that that's not the case. The case is that people want substantiation on their emotional reality, not so much factual validation of base reality. And again, that's not illegal in most cases, but just understand what comes with that. Just understand what comes with that. Now, I want you guys to answer this question. As a result of these court proceedings, is birthright citizenship for illegal undocumented migrants, is that extinct? If that is extinct as a result of these court proceedings, give me a thumbs up. If it's not, then give me a thumbs down. And as you can see here, as we're dealing with this, that hasn't even been brought up. No right. Now, here we go. No right is safe in the new legal regime the court creates, Sotomayor warned. Today, the threat is to birthright citizenship. Tomorrow, a different administration might try to seize firearms from law-abiding citizens or prevent people of certain faiths from gathering to worship. I mean, if that doesn't summarize what I've been saying, I don't know what does. As you can see, there today the threat is to birthright citizenship, which it's not. Birthright citizenship shouldn't be a thing anyway. It's not a thing. It shouldn't be a thing anyway. Yeah, if you guys agree with Carlton, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. People want to feel good and not be good. Yeah. Shout out to Black Spider. Trump is always going to look out for Trump and not black people. And well, you know, my position is it's black people's responsibility to look out for black people. The same people who contest the idea of a quote unquote white savior, if that's the case, then that logic should be followed all the way through. It shouldn't stop with Trump. And people say Trump is going to do this, do that. Because it's always your responsibility to take care of yourself. And there should also be a responsibility to consistency. And there's not. Right? So until people decide to custody their own destiny, this will be a perpetual cycle. And as you can see, it's been perpetuating for quite some time. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, turning to Trump's order, Sotomayor raged that its patent unlawfulness reveals the gravity of the majority's error and underscores why equity supports universal injunctions as appropriate remedies in this kind of case. As every conceivable source of law confirms, birthright citizenship is the law of the land. And this isn't true. Birthright citizenship is not the law of the land. Birthright citizenship is a situational amendment. It's a situational amendment that was used to define actions and things going on during a particular situation, and it's been manipulated. Birthright citizenship is not the law of the land. Shout out to Mike Mellis John. What's good with it, bro? Right? If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. And here's the thing, right? People can either say what sounds good, or people can deal with the fragilities of this situation. Right? And if you deal with the fragilities and the flaws of this situation, that's how you get it out of here. But no one's doing that. And because no one's doing that, again, it's a mirage. It's a smokescreen. Now, let's get into this, right? Let's get into this. Now, remember, Amy Coney Barrett said about the history, right? Okay, the executive branch has no right to enforce the citizenship order against anyone. Which is insane, because the executive branch is literally the enforcement branch of the government. It's literally the enforcement branch. Law enforcement falls under the executive branch. You know what I'm saying? Police, ICE, any authoritative agency where laws are enforced falls under the executive branch. The military, right? Trump's order contradicts the 14th Amendment. How? Which states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, let's get into this, right? Now they're bringing up what everybody is talking about. The amendment enacted after the Civil War initially applied to the children of freed slaves. Why initially? It should have only applied to children of freed slaves, because everybody else other than Native Indigenous people and Black people that lived in areas where there wasn't slavery, everyone else was an immigrant. George Washington was an immigrant. You know what I'm saying? Right? So what should have happened is that if people were actually on their game, everybody should have petitioned to get this law up out of here. Initially applied to the children of freed slaves. Shout out to the conservatives. Nobody born today is a child of a slave in the United States, right? This doesn't apply to anybody born today. Why is this still on the books? As much as these people like to talk about what's going on today, no one's being born from slaves in America today. Why is this even still on here? This should have been gotten out of the paint. Take this one off. White this out. It's done. But because we deal with people that can't fight their way out of a wet paper bag, nobody can muster up the brain power and the wattage necessary to lay this easy ironclad argument out. Why? You got all kind of, you know what I'm saying, lights and cameras and actions, jokes, and nothing getting done. The 14th Amendment is outdated. Again, who's a child born of a slave in 2025? Now, again, the very same people, shout out to PD, what's good, bro? The very same people who sit there and say, well, nobody alive today is a slave. Right. Right. So why is the 14th Amendment still on the books? Right. So you go take that nobody alive today is a slave and tell your man Trump to take the 14th Amendment completely off of the books. The problem is that the nobody was born alive a slave. They need the 14th Amendment on there because that's how their parents got here. Like Trump. Like Vivek Ramaswamy. They're all foreigners, right? So they're not going to get rid of that. They're not going to get rid of that. The amendment enacted after the Civil War initially applied to the children of freed slaves. So why should someone who wants to move here to get rich be able to do it through the means that it was written for people who are persecuted here to be integrated allegedly into society freely? It's not the same situation. Again, were freed slaves criminals? No. Did freed slaves enter the country illegally? They didn't enter the country illegally on their own will. They entered the country illegally because immigrant slave owners either brought them here or captured them as native people here. Right? So again, how does this even apply still? How? Right? Now, look, Trump and his allies have argued it should no longer apply to migrants who enter the U.S. several months pregnant to ensure their children enjoy the privileges of citizenship, a practice known as birth tourism. So Trump's not saying that this entire amendment should go. He's saying that these people shouldn't be allowed to use it. The people, if you ask me, they can put this to rest. They can put this entire amendment to rest because there's nobody being born of freed slaves in the United States anymore. Nobody should be able to use this. Nobody. With the people who are here, right? We're here as a result of historical events. There's no one else that's here as a result of historical events in this country. This can be deaded. But people like Trump, Elon Musk, they need this here. So they're not going to get rid of it. They just want to use it to control the flow of immigrants and who comes. And that's what people need to understand. Where is he saying get rid of this? He's not saying get rid of it. He's saying let's tweak it a little bit. Trump and his allies have argued it should no longer apply to migrants who enter the U.S. several months pregnant. It should no longer apply to anyone. The people that it was created for, that's not happening anymore. That's outdated. People aren't being born from slaves here in the United States anymore. So this is done. This amendment solved the issue that it was created to solve, and now it can be packaged up and put away as history. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. right? So it's, for one, it should have never applied to migrants, and it shouldn't apply to anybody else. Again, if they want to make legal pathways, then they need to make legal pathways. There's no possible way that you can somehow manipulate a law that was in part made to provide rights to people who were trafficked here by the immigrant founders of this country, to people who voluntarily come. None of these people voluntarily came. So again, this is out. The 14th Amendment is outdated. Us, that's already, it's already wrapped up. It's already done. None of these people are here under the same circumstance that we're here under, which means that if that's the case, then that the law is not similar and it shouldn't apply. Period. Trump is using this to manipulate. And Trump is using this to justify the order of operations that he sees fit for his selected justices. This is just going to stay out here. He's not saying get rid of the 14th Amendment, which is what would actually solve the problem that people want solved. You know what I'm saying? Under his order, only children who have at least one parent who is a U.S. citizen or is a permanent resident would be automatically granted citizenship. So again, he's changing the law to mirror families that he's created. This doesn't mirror the situation that the 14th Amendment was born out of. The 14th Amendment was born out of a situation where migrants, immigrant, slave owners, right? Immigrant slave owners owned other human beings, and the government ruled it unlawful that they're not allowed to own human beings. And the government said, we will absorb these human beings into our population. And in order for us to do that, we have to standardize what these absorbed people can do. That's not the case of what's going on right now. So again, I want people to understand, everybody that keeps saying Trump got rid of birthright citizenship. No, is everybody reading this? No, he didn't. Trump customized birthright citizenship to mirror families that he's a part of or that he's created. Now, you can have one immigrant parent. The people who the 14th Amendment was made for, we had no immigrant parents, except for those, except for certain light-skinned people. Like the descendants of Thomas Jefferson and such, right? So again, like, you see how they just quickly brush that over? So now what somebody has to ask is how, okay, so if Trump and his allies argue that it shouldn't apply to migrants, they're actually acknowledging what went on leading up to the Civil War, while at the same time denying it. How does that work? And again, that's what should be pushed on. I don't care. Listen, man, I'm gonna tell. I don't care if people like the policies that Trump has. I don't care about none of that. Anytime you get done wrong, you don't not call somebody on it. Well, I'm not gonna say anything about it because that's my friend. I'm not gonna say anything about it because this is somebody that I like. Now you run up on them the same way as if it was somebody you don't like. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's up with this? Right? But people don't do that. People, when they Trump back, so they're gonna let it slide. And then when this is all outdated and Trump in a retirement home and yada yada yada, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he did that and it was twisted. Oh, okay. Well, why didn't you recognize that it was twisted? Shout out to Black Spider. I appreciate you, Black Spider. Make sure y'all show Black Spider some love. Throw some flames, some radiation emoji, and some ducks in the chat for Black Spider for funding the organization. Definitely appreciate you.
How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the March of Dimes.
Listen, I know everybody wants their W, but in order for you to want your W, you got to get your W. Trump's not going to get you a W. Trump, shout out to Black Spider, because she said this earlier. Trump going to get Trump a W. Trump going to get Trump a W with your name on it. So at the very least, either get some benefit out of that or scratch the whole thing and actually get your W. So again, as you can see, this issue right here, this was a very small, as you can hear, we got it all highlighted. This is a very small part of this situation. Okay. Now, again, I want to know the argument that I have for this particular situation. Why have we not heard more of that is the question. That's, again, that is how you deal with that, right? Tell me, again, I want you guys to tell me the flaw in my argument with that. 3 federal judges in Maryland, Massachusetts, and Washington state have imposed sweeping injunctions halting the order from taking effect in response to lawsuits from plaintiffs, including immigration groups in nearly 24 states. And again, I want you guys to understand, they got black people as the mascot for this, and it's literally deteriorating. Like this is deteriorating the written history of this country. That, like, the 14th Amendment doesn't have anything to do with migrants other than the migrant degenerates that owned our ancestors. And I'm calling them degenerates because I'm on that side of the equation. Make no mistake, if I was on the other side of the equation, I'd be calling these people heroic adventurers who civilized the world for everybody. Yeah, because it's like that. Because it's like that. I'm keeping it a buck. It's just like The Walking Dead. Negan and them said, we were always the good guys until y'all showed up. So yeah, you know, if you a savior, you on Team Negan. If you a survivor, you on Team Rick. That's just the way that the dice rolls. But you got to have clarity, and you got to have you got to be cerebral enough to understand that and acknowledge that. So now here it says 3 federal judges, again, in Maryland, Massachusetts, and Washington state have imposed sweeping injunctions halting the order from taking effect in response to lawsuits from plaintiffs, including immigration groups in nearly 24 states. All right. So again, the takeaway from this, as you can see, is that here is Trump's order. Trump's order is not getting rid of birthright citizenship. This is a lie that the media and social media is telling you all. It's written right here. Under his order, only children who have at least one parent who is a U.S. citizen or is a permanent resident would be automatically granted citizenship. How is he getting rid of birthright citizenship, y'all? Somebody tell me. He's not. So again, my question is, why the celebration? This is just another case of history being manipulated that in no way, shape, or form will benefit any of us in any way, that is being used with a label of something involving us. The correct stance to take on this is that nobody alive today was born from a slave. The 14th Amendment is outdated. Conclude the law. End the law. If you end the 14th Amendment, all of this undocumented issue, it all becomes illegal until any type of, interpretation or anything like that takes place. So now here's my question. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, give me a thumbs up. If it doesn't make sense, give me a thumbs down. Because, this is social media. This is YouTube. You got people that are saying, yada, yada. And, that coon over there, which just so everybody knows, coon is like the word racism. It holds no effect. Literally, no one's going to shut up in 2025 because somebody calls him a coon. You know what I'm saying? But he's sitting up there saying that they need to get rid of the 14th Amendment. He must not believe in civil rights. Yeah, sure. If that's what your pea brain believes, then, that's what your pea brain believes. Just don't go work at a nuclear factory. Don't try to be a brain surgeon and go ahead and continue to take that. Right. Shout out to Carlton. That's exactly what they'll say. We put pressure on Trump to get rid of the 14th Amendment. He didn't even get rid of the 14th Amendment. It didn't go anywhere. What I'm saying to get rid of the 14th Amendment, not anything that anybody else is doing. You know what I'm saying? Because I actually have a sound, ironclad argument rooted in fact. Because I don't have, entertainment, which, I can be entertaining when I want to be, right? But when it's about business, it's about business. Because I don't have that, hey, let's get the entertainment popping. Hey. You know what I'm saying? Entertainment should be people entertaining themselves under the understanding that they actually got some political progress popping off and blocked off a law that is affecting them negatively. Listen, let me ask you guys this question. I want you guys to name in the comment section everyone who has exploited the 14th Amendment. There is no way that people that come into the United States and completely disrespect our history should be getting into the United States on the merits of our history. You have me bent. But again, these other people, these other YouTubers, these other people, they not like me. I don't care how hard they think they are. I don't care how loud they scream into a microphone. I don't care how many people they got in my chat, in their chat. They not like me. And there ain't no way in the real world, anybody that ever disrespected me is going to ever get anything off of me that benefits them. You want to come into my house and then disrespect how I built it? Man, castle doctrine. But everybody, what I need people to understand about themselves is everybody ain't built like that. Everybody ain't built for that. Most people don't even react appropriately to that. And that's where we at in 2025. That's where we're at in 2025. So, we talked about this situation with Amy Coney Barrett and Ketanji Brown Jackson. And what I found fascinating about Ketanji Brown Jackson is that she didn't have anything to say in regards to the facts behind the 14th Amendment. See, Trump, like, I can't hear you. What'd you say? What'd you say? I can't hear you. She's just sitting there like this. I can't hear you. What? I can't hear. Say that again. Say it again. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. So we got this dangerous squatter situation. that's popping off in Los Angeles. How many people have heard about these dangerous squatters? If you guys have heard about these dangerous squatters, give me a thumbs up. If you have not heard about these dangerous squatters, then give me a thumbs down. It's 2025. Shout out to Carlton. And I still have not done one video of Box Bros. Still have not done one video of Box Bros. Los Angeles residents are on edge as absolutely terrifying violent squatters terrorize ritzy neighborhood. Okay, so the rich people don't know what to do. They got crackheads running all throughout the neighborhood. It's a combination of crackheads and migrants is a wild conversation. You know what I'm saying? And this is like, how many people remember bum fights? You guys remember bum fights? If you guys remember bum fights from back in the day, give me a thumbs up. If you don't remember bum fights from back in the day, then give me a thumbs down. I want y'all to take a look at this. And shout out to everybody watching. I appreciate you guys. If you all have not smashed that like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys have not hit that bell, please take a moment, hit that bell. And also, please share the stream to your social media. My man, Black Star Racer in the building. What's good with it, bro?
New at 11, people on edge after they say transients have been setting fires to a vacant apartment complex, and it seems nothing's being done to stop them. This comes as a surveillance camera caught a transient beating a gardener with a pipe. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter joining us live.
And it sounds like they're about to say, it sounds like they're about to say transgender. And I mean, you beating a gardener with a pipe, the person trying to, grow some food, grow some vegetables, they got some little herbs out there, and somebody wearing, somebody wearing underwear clad in newspaper comes up beating you with a PVC pipe. I mean, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is absurd. Get off this property. I'm trying to water my plants. And they come with body armor made of newspaper. Like, this is ridiculous.
New at 11, people on edge after they say transients have been setting fires to a vacant apartment complex, and it seems nothing's being done to stop them. This comes as a surveillance camera caught a transient beating a gardener with a pipe. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter joining us live now in Beverly Grove. Leanne.
Mark, in both of those cases, the properties like the apartment complex you see.
Bro, here's my shout out to the local news. I love the local news. I'm like a local news junkie. I watch local news from everywhere. I don't know how some of these people keep a straight face when they do the local news, but shout out to them for it. They must go to Planet Fitness to keep their facial muscles, tight, or either they get some exotic Botox injections or something to keep everything together up there. I don't know how they do it.
Behind me here have been gated off, but it has done little to stop people from.
Shout out to Jacoby. What's good with it, bro?
And in one case, it led to a violent assault. We have to warn you, you may find the video disturbing.
Hey. Oh my! What? Hey, one time, my mom beat me down like that. Hey, how many of y'all got beat down by your mom like that before? If you got beat down by your mom like that before, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't, give me a thumbs down. In most cases, that's restricted to those of us that was born in the 80s, 90s, the 60s and 70s, possibly the first half of the 2000s. But you don't see nothing like this. But I mean, this is just wild though. Like, you know what I'm saying? And she looked like she about high as a kite right there.
Hey.
What? Hey, get the out of here!
A brutal beating caught on surveillance camera in Brentwood as a gardener is attacked by a transient.
It's my
Hey, they got a name for them. They calling them transients. They gonna take them to jail and stamp transient on their back. They gonna stamp transient on their backs. And he looked like he had some skills with that pipe. He done that before. He just came through there and packed that dude up real quick. Like that's wild, man. That's wild.
What? Get the
Get out of here!
A brutal beating caught on surveillance camera in Brentwood as a gardener is attacked by a transient.
It was my worst nightmare coming true. I was like, I told the owners this was going to happen.
For months, Braden Ewell has been asking the owner, LAPD, and the city for help with the abandoned property which burned 10 years ago. The concern escalating a month ago when the transient, who Ewell says is mentally ill and violent, moved in.
He put his own chain on the gate, and had a lock on the back. So, he thought it was his own property.
Tuesday, the man struck without warning, hitting the gardener with a steel pole, leaving him with a broken arm and stitches across his head.
That's that crazy strength. He broke it. Hey, that's that crazy strength. He broke his arm. That's a straight up. Hey, is that a straight savage? If that's not a straight up savage, give me a thumbs up. That's a straight savage right there. He broke his arm and busted his head and left him leaking. He had to go get stitches on his head.
Ewell helping to track down the suspect who had run off, the LAPD taking him into custody. A GoFundMe set up to help the gardener.
Yo, man, look at that. Busted him all up. He's leaking. Look at his head. He got that big. He had to get stitches right there. They got this crazy dude in a special Arkham Asylum chair. Look at it. This is one of them special chairs. Wow.
The LAPD taking him into custody. A GoFundMe set up to help the gardener. In Beverly Grove, from fires to fights at all hours of the night, it's a similar scenario and fears as residents say about 20 transients come and go from this boarded up apartment complex on Flores Street.
See, this is the situation. Let me ask y'all this question, man. This is like an escape from LA situation. This is like an escape from New York situation. You got to deal with this type of mess. See, this wouldn't happen in a state with the Castle. Let me ask y'all this. If you guys think that this would happen in a state with the Castle Doctrine, give me a thumbs up. If you don't think that this would happen in a state with the Castle Doctrine, give me a thumbs down. If this was in Texas, if this was in Ohio, let me ask you guys this. If this was in Texas or in Ohio, how do you think that the story would have went? Let me know.
It's been absolutely terrifying. We are on hold with our lives right now till this is resolved.
One woman repeatedly setting it ablaze, residents rushing to put out the flames themselves.
She is an arsonist. She got arrested a couple weeks ago, and I saw her light a fire last week. And
hey, this is crazy. I'm about to just set this stuff on fire and then just set it on fire. Yo, that's wild. That is crazy.
Repeatedly setting it ablaze, residents rushing to put out the flames themselves.
She is an arsonist. She got arrested a couple weeks ago, and I saw her light a fire last week, and she lit a big one last night.
It's scary, and I'm scared for like my family.
The property owner is reportedly in the process of tearing down the complex and rebuilding, but in the meantime,
and that little girl was scared as hell. She said, "Mommy, they burning up the house, Mommy." They were terrified. And this is in a rich neighborhood. Like it's not even going down like this really in the hood lightweight. Like this is rich people problems. Like this is crazy, man.
Residents say the owner and the city are doing nothing to clear out the squatters as the dangers continue to grow.
No one has a proper answer for us. Everyone just blames someone else and tells us that there's nothing they can do. And so we do not know where to go anymore for help.
Yes, so much frustration for so many at both of those locations. Now, the city council members representing both of those sites are promising help, but residents say so far they haven't seen it. Live in Beverly Grove, Leanne Suter, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Hey, we might have to take a look at this next video. Hold on real quick. Hey, look at this. Hey, this is ice right here. Real quick, shout out to y'all. If y'all haven't smashed the like button yet, do me a favor, take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, Please take a moment, hit that bell, and also please share the stream to your social media. This is ice right here, like blowing up something. Look at this. Look, look.
Dramatic video showing federal agents blowing up a front door in Huntington Park today. The agents looking for a man they say rammed a federal vehicle last week during immigration raids.
Man, that's and look, it's going ice. It's going ice, baby, out here. It's going crazy out here. This is wild.
Dramatic video showing federal agents blowing up a front door in Huntington Park today. The agents looking for a man they say rammed a federal vehicle last week during immigration raids. The aggressive tactics of those agents terrifying the family inside that home and the rest of the community. And we've learned.
Now, I want to ask you guys this question. How many times have you ever seen the news discuss a story in terms of the tactics that were used? Oh, they just terrified the people involved. If you've ever seen that before, give me a thumbs up. If you have not seen that, give me a thumbs down. This is the only situation where the criminals, in most cases, are turned into the victims somehow. Like this, I want you to pay very close attention to how the news is reporting this. And just so you guys know, is it just me or are these guys' glasses extremely crooked? Let me know answers to both.
The man those agents were looking for this morning is now back home with his family tonight after turning himself in earlier today. Eyewitness News reporter Amy Powell is live tonight in Huntington Park with exclusive new information. Amy?
And David, I spoke with Jorge Sierra Hernandez shortly after he was released from federal custody. He was clearly shaken by the events of today and the extensive damage due to that enforcement action by federal agents here at his home. You can see that the home is still boarded up at this hour. He didn't want to say much about the accusations against him, but he did tell me he has hired an attorney. Jorge Sierra Hernandez back at home with his girlfriend, getting a look at the damage caused by armed federal agents who stormed their Huntington Park house in the early morning hours.
Now, again, I want to ask you guys this question. The first question is he in the country illegally? Is he in the country illegally? All right. Second question is, when is no one ever cares if there's no knock warrants. Right? So my question is, why should anybody care about this?
They were up to right here with their rifles, and we heard some screaming up in the front, but we couldn't see because everything was blocked, but it was pretty shocking.
A window shattered, a drone sent in, the front door blown off by the explosion. Inside, a terrified Jenny Ramirez trying to protect the couple's 2 young children. Jorge was not at home. In Spanish, Jenny says, where they broke the window, my baby was there. And before I got him out of there is when it exploded. My ears went blank. I imagined how they would feel, and they were shaking.
What happened here today, this morning, it's hard to put into words.
The federal action stemming from an incident during a protest against ICE activity in the Bell Maywood area last week. There were reports of people running into federal cars. A government...
Look, this is why, here goes the thing. No one, look at, they throwing, objects at the cars. No one was worried about them throwing objects at the cars that they could have caused the accident. So now somebody threw a bomb. Somebody threw a bomb at their house that happened to be a federal agent, and they outraged. But they was throwing Molotov cocktails, and it was all good, though.
Stemming from an incident during a protest against ICE activity in the Bell Maywood area last week. There were reports of people running into federal cars. A government spokesman claiming Jorge Sierra Hernandez rammed his car into a Border Patrol vehicle, obstructing the work of agents.
This family, did nothing wrong. They, like I said, they were involved in a minor traffic accident. And then this is a level of violence and response that we get.
Flores says the agents called Jorge after this morning's action at his home.
This incident happened and they told Jorge, have they told you what we did? Do you know what we did already? And he said, yeah, I talked to my wife.
Hernandez turned himself into federal agents and is now free on bail.
Set aside.
Well, listen, I'm not trying to be funny. Hey, it sounds like the method was effective because they got him to turn himself in. Right? If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down.
The monetary, the physical damage. You cannot put a dollar amount on the emotional damage, on the trauma, not only from Jenny, not only from her husband, but also from the children.
So once again, Jorge Sierra Hernandez is free on bail tonight, but he told me he has no idea what charges he'll be facing. Reporting live in Huntington Park, Amy Powell, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, so here my question is, how does he not know what charges he'll be facing? You know, they're like, bro, you know what you did. We gotta just look at some of these images again, because this is just ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. What do you guys think about these squatters? Like, could you imagine? Like, the dude, how many people remember that movie Encino Man? It looked like Encino Man just came out with some type of object and started just beating the brakes off of that gardener. That gardener ain't know what hit him. He didn't know what hit him. He was like, I'm about to hit you with the I'm about to hit you with the hobo all you could. I'm about to hit you with the hobo all you could. They could put like a video game. They could put like a video game thing on here. Combo. You know? He about to finish him. They got him in the Arkham Asylum chair. Like, this is a dangerous person right here. I've never seen anybody in the criminal wheelchair get taken over. Like, he's in full, that's a full body cuff, is what that is. He's so dangerous, they put him in a body cuff. Like, you ain't even getting handcuffs. You just getting the whole criminal high chair, and we're gonna push you in the stroller like a baby. Because you did that to that man. God damn. Hey, man, that is wild. Look at this. So, in May, Gavin Newsom called on cities to ban homeless encampments on public property. Now, my question is, what do they plan on doing? Like, what do they plan on doing about this problem? Like, it sounds cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we're going to ban homeless encampments. How are you going to reduce the number of homeless people when everybody's laying off? You know what I'm saying? Everyone is laying off. There's not a lot of people really secure in their jobs at this point. Now, I want to ask you guys this question. How many people think that only Democrat-led cities are getting targeted in the ICE raids? Is that true? If that's true, give me a thumbs up. If it's not true, give me a thumbs down. Let me see. Let's see. Let's see what they got going on here. Hold on.
Audience, it was supposed to rain They gave it a 100% chance of rain, and it didn't rain at all. It was beautiful. And so I asked if they gave it 100% chance, right? 100% it was going to rain like crazy, and it didn't rain at all. How did they predict 100 years out and 50 years out or 200 years out? They didn't do too well, the weather people, last night, but it was beautiful.
Man, what is Trump talking about sometimes? Now, look, check this out, right? I will definitely give it to Trump. He is way more sharp than Joe Biden, right? But sometimes Trump be on another planet too. Like, bro, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Now, this is where they really messed up at. He should have known this was going to happen. But this is what happens when you don't understand where you at. This is what happens when you don't understand where you at. This Egyptian man, he kicked a CBP beagle off the ground. He hit him with one of them super kicks like Chun-Li. And now he got deported after the dog sniffed out 100 pounds of illegal food at the airport. Illegal food. They got him up out the paint. You kicked this dog and you had this illegal food at the airport. I mean, this is, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, you're just doing dumb stuff.
I knew that I wasn't in good health. Then one day I went to get my blood work done and the results were not good.
Hold on real quick, man. Hey, if y'all haven't smashed the like button yet, do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you haven't hit the bell, take a moment, hit the bell. As usual, New York Post is doing what New York Post wants to do. So I gotta try to see if I can get this back on the screen somehow. There we go. There we go. All right, cool. Just in time too. And then you see this thing keeps look.
No fish? Okay, we need to look at your bag up here side.
Look at this. He got all these Cheerios. Like, bro, what are you doing? And they in a blue plastic bag. Like, come on, man. And then you kick the dog sky high. It's not even playing the video. It must be violent. So now here they said, don't let the dog hit you on the way out. An Egyptian man trying to smuggle over 100 pounds of food through the Dulles airport punted a CBP beagle into the air when the pup sniffed out the scam, resulting in creeps deportation. Like I said, man, you put your hands on a dog, they deported him immediately. You're out of here. Customs and Border Brigadier Beagle Freddy 5 caught a whiff of something suspicious coming from the luggage of Hamad Ramadan Bayomi Ali Marie, okay, who is 70, who arrived at the Washington, D.C. airport from Cairo on Tuesday. CBP said in a release. He had all them spices, and it was, you know what I'm saying, the dog was able to pick up on that. You know what I'm saying? The dog was able to pick up on all them spices and was like, nah, he kicked the dog. Said something crazy that didn't nobody understand. As the detector dog alerted his handlers to Marie's bag, the 70-year-old violently kicked Freddie with enough force to lift the 25-pound beagle into the air, the release stated. The dog was probably like, oh. CBP officers, they lost their minds, I bet. Then took Marie down and placed him into custody and turned him immediately over to Homeland Security officials. You ain't gonna put your hands on a dog like that. They're not gonna let that happen. You know what I'm saying? That's that ancient Egypt, man. That's that dog worship. Hey, that's that ancient Egypt. That's that dog worship. You know what I'm saying? Certain things, right? While inspecting the dog kicker's language, the dog kissers arrested him. No, I'm just playing. CBP officers found enough undeclared sundries to start a restaurant, including 55 pounds of beef. It was all going to get hot in the luggage. What was he going to do with it? 44 pounds of rice, 15 pounds of eggplant, 2 pounds of corn seeds, cucumbers, bell peppers, and 1 pound of herbs. I mean, like, what did this dude do? Go grocery shopping and then immediately from grocery shopping go to the airport? Like, what was he doing? Shout out to PD. Yeah, so I think that wasn't that person like a research assistant at University of Michigan or something like that? Being caught deliberately smuggling well over 100 pounds of undeclared prohibited agriculture products does not give one permission to violently assault a defenseless Customs and Border Patrol beagle. Christine Waugh, CBP's area port director for area port of Washington, D.C., said in the release, Marie pleaded guilty to harming animals used in law enforcement, a federal crime. During an appearance in the U.S. District Court, and was sent packing on a flight back to Egypt at 12:30 p.m. on Thursday, CBP stated. I told you. They got him up out of there real quick. They got, if you guys would agree, they got him up out of there real quick. Give me a thumbs up. They got him out of there real quick. The canine hater was also ordered to pay for the beagle's veterinarian fees. Freddie suffered a contusion to his forward right rib area and is expected to make a full recovery. They did a whole x-ray and MRI and everything on this dog. The Beagle Brigader is back on patrol, ensuring that no illegal or undeclared agricultural products make their way into the United States. We rely heavily on our canine partners, and Freddie was just doing his job. Any malicious attack on one of us is an attack on all of us, and CBP will continue to work with our investigating and prosecuting partners to deal swift and severe justice to perpetrators, Waugh said. I mean, they got that. That was some severe justice. I mean, it was some quick justice, too. They said it. Now, speaking of the Constitution, right, they said you have a right. They said you got the right to a speedy trial. Hey, he definitely had a speedy trial. Right? If you guys would agree, he had a speedy trial, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, y'all don't think the trial was that speedy, give me a thumbs down. So, yo, shout out to everybody that came through. I appreciate it, man. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the like button, hit the bell, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to the stream sponsors and the members and the Patreon people and everybody that makes it possible to continue streaming. I definitely appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all show the stream sponsors some love. Shout out to Black Spider. Make sure y'all show Black Spider some love. Shout out to my man Carlton Way. Make sure y'all show my man Carlton Way some love. Shout out to Black Spider gave. I saw that it was green and I thought that it was a $5. She gave the $10. My bad. She gave the $10 holler. I didn't even catch that. Make sure y'all show her some love first of all, because we got to do this all over, right? Shout out to her for the $10 holler. Now we got to give her again. Right? Now we got to give her the funding the organization.
How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the March of Dimes.
And we got to give her the again. And we got to give her eating the cats, because I forgot. I seen that it was that color, and I missed it. So make sure y'all show her some love.
In Springfield.
So don't push me, ain't Donald Trump trying to grab him by the... Said it was some Haitians somewhere out in Springfield. Women doing cartwheels. Have you seen Garfield? Have you seen Snowball? This about to snowball. I'm about to go off. I can't let this go on. Miss me like an airball. Tell me when my cat is coughing up like a hairball. I gotta tell them if they even put the fingernail on Santa's little helper to turn them to hamburger helper. Somebody better help them, cause I'm going to jail for showing them fellas helter-skelter. Usually I'm content, but if you touch my dog, then I'm turning into John Wick. I'm lit. Bird better drop it. If you touch my pet, then I'm pulling up like CrossFit. The seas where they said Hello Kitty, but it ain't there, it's right here in your city. When I turn my back, now the cat goes missing in the heat. When my my peoples is at? Does anybody know where he flipping at? Cause I heard they putting claws on felines, I'm mad. And my cat disappeared just like Felix the cat. And then he the cat got paid back. Thought she was a goner, but the cat came back. If you ain't a pussy cat, say drop that cat. Drop that cat. Drop that cat. The cat got paid back. Thought she was a goner, but the cat came back. If you ain't a pussy cat, say drop that cat. Drop that cat. Drop that cat.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat.
Drop that cat.
Definitely appreciate it. And as always, ladies and gentlemen,